अपने लक्ष्य को अपनी मंजिल की तरफ ले जाना, सपनों को साकार करना, यही हम सब की दुनिया है। इन ख्वाबों की ताबीर के लिए हम हर रोज नई जिंदगी, नए जज्बे के साथ एक खूबसूरत दिन की शुरुआत करते हैं। आज है 27 नवंबर की इस दोपहरी राइटर्स क्लब में आप जैसे खूबसूरत शख्सियात की मौजूदगी एक किताब की रस्म रोनुमाई के सिलसिले में हमारे लिए बाइस फख्र की बात है। आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत, अभिनंदन। मौजूद हाज़रीन, नमस्कार, आदाब। आज की इस तकरीब में हमारे साथ मुख्य अतिथि के तौर पे मौजूद रहेंगे साबिक चीफ सेक्रेटरी जम्मू कश्मीर और पूर्व MLC जनाब विजय बकाया साहब। किसी तारुफ के मोहताज नहीं, आपकी जोरदार तालियों से हम इनका स्वागत करते हैं। इस तकरीब की अध्यक्षता कर रहे हैं पद्मश्री डॉक्टर KN पंडिता जी। आप ही किसी दर्जे के प्रोफेसर B L Zutshi, प्रेसिडेंट HESK। गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर हैं श्री भरत सिंह मनहास, एडिटर श्री डॉक्टर अशोक रैना। हिंदू एजुकेशन सोसाइटी ऑफ कश्मीर आज के इस समारोह का आयोजन कर रहा है। जम्मू कश्मीर एकेडमी ऑफ आर्ट, कल्चर एंड लैंग्वेजेस के इश्तराक से बहुत शुक्रिया जम्मू कश्मीर एकेडमी ऑफ आर्ट, कल्चर एंड लैंग्वेजेस का। आपके ताउन से ही हम आज यहाँ इस तकरीब का आयोजन खूबसूरती से अंजाम दे रहे हैं। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया भरत सिंह मनहास साहब का, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। भारत की संस्कृति में सबसे खास बात यही है कि किसी भी शुभ कार्य की शुरुआत दीप प्रज्वलन यानी लाइटिंग ऑफ द लैम्प सेरेमनी से की जाती है। यहाँ इस प्रक्रिया को जारी रखते हुए मैं गुजारिश करना चाहूँगा डॉक्टर KN पंडिता साहब को वो मंच पे तशरीफ लाएं। जनाब विजय बकाया साहब, प्रोफेसर B L Zutshi, प्रेसिडेंट HESK, डॉक्टर अशोक रैना, एडिटर इस किताब के, और भरत सिंह मनहास साहब। आपकी हौसला, हमारी हौसला डॉक्टर KN पंडिता साहब को एक यादानी की सूरत में अब मैं वीरेंद्र रैना साहब से गुजारिश करूंगा, एग्जीक्यूटिव बॉडी के मेंबर हैं, आप यहाँ तशरीफ लाएंगे और बुके प्रेजेंट करेंगे हमारे आज के मुख्य अतिथि विजय बकाया साहब। वीरेंद्र रैना जी, विजय बकाया साहब HESK के जनरल सेक्रेटरी हैं प्रोफेसर वीरेंद्र रावल। आप बुके प्रेजेंट करेंगे डॉक्टर अशोक रैना साहब। के जलाली साहब हैं यहाँ पे मौजूद और आप बुके प्रेजेंट करेंगे भरत सिंह मनहास साहब। भरत सिंह मनहास साहब के बुके HK रैना साहब हैं मेंबर फाइनेंस, बुके प्रेजेंट करेंगे प्रोफेसर B L Zutshi साहब। HESK के प्रेसिडेंट हैं प्रोफेसर B L Zutshi साहब। बहुत शुक्रिया। सकाफती हवाले के मद्देनजर बड़े बड़े नामी ग्रामी अदीब कलमकार और शायर पले बड़े अपनी खूबसूरत फनकाराना सलाहियतों से लोगों के दिलों पे राज करते रहे और दूसरों के लिए रोल मॉडल की हैसियत का दर्जा हासिल किया है। ये सचमुच हमारे लिए गर्व की बात है। बहरहाल अगली पायदान पे वेलकम एड्रेस पेश करेंगे हेस्क के प्रेसिडेंट प्रोफेसर बी एल जुत्शी साहब।
Professor K. Pandita, esteemed Bakaya Sahab, Dr. Raina, who is from Scientific USA, and the Secretary, Mr. Manhas of the Cultural Academy. And then we have such a bright, fraternity here sitting in the hall. It's very difficult to name who is who. We have Professor Amma here, Professor Pandita here, you have Professor Cole here, you have Mr. Vatal here, Mr. Saraf here, Professor Tristan here, then we have Professor, they are brilliant people, the brilliant minds we have of the community are here. It's, for me, it's a privilege to welcome you all on today's auspicious day. This book written by is anthology type. You have beautiful write-ups and edited brilliantly by Dr. Raina. It's an excellent book, I say. This book must be read by everybody. Everybody must read because there are some chapters, some write-ups, even most of the write-ups are excellent. I think after a long time I have seen that there's a fresh air, fresh breeze. I found a wonderful book available now. They have done a lot of hard work. Professor Pandita has done excellent work. So is Mr. Dar, Tej Dar. So is Kol Saab. So is everybody who has contributed. This book compiles the essence of the Kashmiri Pandit history and the Kashmiri Pandits. I will request that all those people who are here will be giving you the copies of the book to you because there has been an arrangement between Dr. Raina and Mr. Professor B L Cole was the coordinator that he arranged 500 books through HESK for the distribution of the readers. 500 books we have received. In fact, 2 months back, we received the books. We are waiting for Dr. Raina to come and Dr. Cole to come from London. So we have this function and Professor Pandita to be here from Pune. All are together today and we are celebrating today. So this is a fine work with a documentation, research oriented. As a student of history and politics, I find it a wonderful book for you, all of you. After a long time, who has its clots, blood clots, I find this is the best book we have now available in India. When I started reading the book, I was in Gurgaon, I started by 5:30 until 5 o'clock I completed the book. I didn't want to move from my seat. Such was engrossing the book. The such of research Professor Pandita has done, excellent research, documented, which was education for me also as a student of history and politics. So I'm thankful to Dr. Raina. You have chosen our society, Hindu Education Society, you have trusted us that we can do something great about this distribution of the book. And we try our best that all those readers who are interested, who have passion to read, will get the book here. Hindu Education Society was established in 1943 by the iconic Kashmiri Pandits of the time, Shivnarayan Podidar, Jayalal Kalam, Sarugol Madan, Asan Dar. They were the iconic Kashmiri Pandits at that time. They thought of making an institution in Srinagar city. In those times, when you had only one college in Srinagar city, was SP College. Again, I may tell you, SP College was created by Kashmiri Pandits. Before it was a Hindu college. Then they gave to Maharaja Pratap Singh Andani Basant and it became a SP College. The contribution of that constitution is Shagra and all that from Lucknow, who made this institution created in SP College. And afterwards was the Gandhi Memorial College. It catered to the needs of the students who were not getting admission in SQ College, mostly. Then you had wonderful faculty there at that time. Until I have seen, you had faculty like Gopinath Bottu, who wrote that salary for years together with 8 MAs, from Persian to English to Hindi to Sanskrit. He had all the MAs. He was running this institution, so were the other faculty. Even Professor Madan, for that matter, or Mr. Durrani, they were ace teachers who made name for this institution. The government of the day tells to the court that they have mismanaged this institution, so they have no right to run the institution. It's adding insult to the injury. In English we can say. An institution which we have nurtured for so many years, about 80 years, 81 years, that the government of the day tells us that they have mismanaged this institution. And those who have been the presidents, like Shilnarayan Podedar, like Jalal Kalam, like S.N. Dar, like General Dar, who are iconic names of the community, they were running this institution. And this institution, this time also, have the best minds, like we have Professor Anna on the advisory committee, we have Veena Pandita, we have all those, Mr. Pandita is here, the live member of it, all those members who are here, they are part and parcel of this running institution. If they say like this, that means the entire community is a community of idiots. When I read this, the memo of the government, I felt so bad. What's happening around? Have they lost wits? This society is a heritage society of the community. This society is like a temple, like we have Shaila temple, or we have Kheer Bhavani, because our ancestors have made this institution. With their blood, they have nursed this institution. We will not allow this institution to be taken, or they may write that they have mismanaged. What mismanaged? 90, what happened 90? Even the Jagmohan, the governor then, who had not attend to him when he reached Srinagar city. But what Sophie writes in his diary, उसके पास भी वो वहाँ attendant नहीं था. It's a collapse of the state. Then what should we have done? We left. But still we tried to do whatever is possible. So long, 90 tak, this institution was in terms of results, in terms of faculty, in terms of name, in terms of fame, it was towering institution of the state. And then this memo of the government was really disturbing for me and for my members of society here. So basically, has been the cradle of Indian civilization. We can't deny it. If we see the entire, from Abhinav Guft to Lala Laldet, this entire philosophy of Kashmir is well nurtured and nurtured by the Kashmiris. If you subtract this 80% civilization from that, there will be only 20% remain with Indian civilization. I am not arrogant in that. I am saying this is very important for Indian civilization of the Kashmiri civilization. What has been, so what this history is a past history. What I mean to say, the present also is very bad for us. Present is not good. There might be oases sometimes. I have Mr. Secretary who has been helpful. Some time back he arranged a very important seminar in this hall, the contribution of Kashmiri Pandits to art, literature and music. Am I right, sir? We are grateful to him. These are oases we have. There are some fresh breezes we have, but rest is a discrimination. Rest is persecution. Rest is denial of our fundamental rights. We are going to courts for our cases, and nothing is happening to us. But on this auspicious day, I was again, it's a digression, may be emotive this time, but I must thank the learned Dr. Raina and all those who have contributed. They are here, those who have contributed. Mr. Cole Sahib is here, Pandita Sahib is here. Colonel Cole has not come. Then Professor Pandita, the legend we have, he is here. They have all contributed. Tej Cole has not come, but so these are the These, when you read these write-ups, they are mesmerizing, factual, with footnotes, but very well documented. They have purged prejudices and biases in writing this book. That makes this book of all times. Thank you very much.
Diwan hai History of Kashmir and its Pandits, editor Dr. Ashok Raina, साबिका साइंटिस्ट US डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर। अशोक जी, आपको बहुत बहुत मुबारकबाद। किताब की तासुरात के बारे में आप अपने ख्यालात का इजहार करेंगे।
Dear friends, namaskar. I wish I could speak in Hindi or even Kashmiri or any of the other languages, but my communication is limited a little bit, so I'll speak in English. I hope you don't mind. Thank you for the opportunity you have given me to speak to this distinguished gathering on the occasion of the launching of the book History of Kashmir and its Pandits, that I had the privilege of editing, besides co-authoring a couple of chapters. I'm not a historian. I just became a student of history. My only history exposure was in matriculation, that we had to read the book, and it had probably one chapter on Kashmir, and that too was very highly biased the way it was written. My interest in the history of Kashmir was kindled when I read late Governor Jagmohan's book, My Frozen Turbulence. I know there are hundreds of books on Kashmir history. Yet I had this urge to write something different. It was a monumental task, but I couldn't do it alone. I could not write the book just by myself. So I chose 10 authors who were eminent in their own fields and assigned each person to write one of the chapters, or as in the case of Kashi Nath Pandita, he wrote 2 chapters. My request to them was to produce a book is totally unbiased. You know, biases are human, just weaknesses. I'll not describe each chapter, but give you some highlights about the book. Kashmiri Pandit designation, as some of you might know, was specially requested by Jairam Ban, a Kashmiri courtier in the Mughal court of Emperor Muhammad Shah, who ruled about 300 years ago. Before that, we were just called Bhattas. The greatest source of ancient history of Kashmir is Rajtarangani, or the River of Kings, written by Kalhana Pandit in 1150 AD. There's a lot of confusion about the chronology of kings that ruled prior to that period, as it was all based on verbal communication. We have tried to correct it as much as possible of Kashmir. Unlike the Mauryan king Ashoka, whom everybody knows about, he worshipped Shiva and had a son named Jaluka. Kashmir in his time was invaded by foreigners, who were referred to as Malichas, and we still use that word, Malicha. Many authors, including some of the most recent ones, have confused that Ashoka of Kashmir with the Mauryan Ashoka, although there is a difference of 1200 years between the two. We all know that Kashmir was a lake, but it was not drained by Kashyap Rishi as most believe. About 85,000 years ago, there was a major earthquake that caused a breach in the mountain near Baramulla. The valley thus formed probably got flooded several times in subsequent years. One of the documented flooding due to drainage impoundment happened in the 9th century AD, just before the reign of Avantivarman. That time, 2/3 of the valley came underwater. A medieval engineer named Suya offered to open up the passage. He did it by throwing coins into the river, into the water near Khadanyar, and letting people retrieve these by removing the rocks that were causing the obstruction. And this was now corroborated by one of the engineers who worked on the lower Jhelum Hydel project. While they were constructing the tunnel there for the passage of water, he did find, or his crew found, some coins that dated back to the Avantivarman's era. We do not know exactly when the first human beings settled in Kashmir. The earliest settlers perhaps did not survive the last ice age. Activity going back about 18,000 years, the climatic conditions became conducive to human survival only after the end of the recent glacial period, which is around 11,700 years. The people who lived there are referred to as Nagas, which has two meanings. Those who lived around springs or who looked like serpents. And we're not sure which one of the two made them be called Nagas. They did not practice an organized religion but worshipped elements of nature like sun. They were subsequently replaced by Buddhists and then Hindus. And this is another controversial topic because most people believe that it was the Hindus who first arrived as an organized religion, but it was Buddhists. An interesting finding was about the arrival of Saraswat Brahmins, that's about 4,000 years ago. And their departure from Kashmir happened due to some unknown causes, most probably climatic, or there could have been a famine, again, because of the climate. It's without doubt that the greatest king who ruled Kashmir for 37 years, from 724 to 761 AD, was Lalitaditya Muktapida of the Karkota dynasty. When they came to Kashmir, they did not have a religion of their own. They adopted whatever was locally practiced at that time. There were some good kings like Kanishka and a really bad one named Mihrakul. As a result of continued incursions, our genetic composition became a complex mixture, and it's mostly of Central Asian origin. Without going into the details, I would say that history of Kashmir was changed by two people, Shah Mir, a Muslim guy who came from Swat, and Rinchen, a boater from Ladakh. They came in peace. Again, most people think that the Islamic invasion was like they came on riding the horses with swords, but that's not true. The infighting among local rulers helped them gain control and eventually establish Islam as the governing force. They were helped in their nefarious design by the recent converts. Kashmir went through some very hard times, resulting in multiple exoduses, the last one being the one that most of us have witnessed. And there is a very detailed account of all the exoduses. Until then, Kashmiri Pandits were the source of everything. Intelligence, tolerance, forgiveness, religion, morality, and peace that the fanatic jihadis wished to destroy. There is a chapter describing the unique culture of Kashmiri Pandits. With the most recent exodus, our community has dispersed all over India and beyond. 7 out of 10 marriages currently are solemnized between Kashmiris and non-Kashmiris. And I'm not against that, but that's one of the factors. The first victim was our language, which was bound to happen. Each year throughout the world, an average of 9 languages becomes extinct. Some of our cultural and religious practices are perceived as too complicated by our younger generation. I'll use Herath and Shivratri, which is our most important religious function, as an example. Most probably our ancestors celebrated Herath and not Shivratri. We worshipped Bhairav and offered only fish to that Bhairav, and perhaps not meat, because there was no one to slaughter the animals. Later, when people from Indus Valley civilization arrived in Kashmir, they introduced Shivratri. Subsequently, the two got integrated in what we celebrate now. Another point related to Shivratri is that in the valley, only the elder of the family used to do the Vatat Puja. This is an excuse used by many of the youngsters throughout the world not to perform the puja, with the result that their children have never seen the Vatat Puja being performed. In order for this ritual to continue, we have to make it simple and understandable and emphasize that every individual family unit should perform it. The last chapter in the book deals with the subject, Will Pandits Survive Without Their Kashmir? There has been a lot of discussion on this topic. Dr. Vijay Bakaya, the author of this chapter, puts forth the argument that if Parsis could survive and flourish away from their ancestral land, so can Kashmiri Pandits. He also thinks that the section of Pandits that continue to stay in Kashmir will form the core of our future generations. Some of us blame various governments for not doing enough to facilitate return of our community back to Kashmir. I personally very strongly believe that until the majority community in Kashmir agrees to live together with us in peace and harmony, nothing will change. People often compare Kashmiri Pandits with the Jews. We have both been persecuted and have suffered a lot. Our greatest weapon and strength have been education. Through education, we have been able to compete with people anywhere in the world. Before I conclude, I would like to mention and thank 3 groups that made this project possible. I thank all the authors, and I believe there are 3 who are present here. And I'd like to identify those: Professor Pandita and Dr. Sandeep Pandita again, and Dr. Bansilal Kaul, who also happens to be my classmate. We're supposed to have, they've done a marvelous job in writing these chapters, sometimes trying to beat the deadlines. I'd like to thank Ashok Raina ji. I don't think he had promised he would come, but after his retirement from the armed forces, he and one other person established a publishing company called Sabre and Quill out of Delhi. And he has done an excellent job, as you would see when you get a copy of the book. And 12 couples. And we have 2 of those 12 here who contributed to purchase 1,000 copies of the book and for free distribution in India. So we have designated Bangalore, Pune, Delhi, Jammu and Srinagar for the distribution of these books. Now that most of you will get a copy, one of those free copies, I would urge you to buy additional copies for giving it as gifts to your children. They're the ones who need to read so that they know what their history has been. Thank you, and God bless you all.
किताबें सफ़र के दौरान हम सफ़र बनकर खुश असलूबी से मंजिल तक पहुंचाने में हमारी मदद करती हैं। की मांग है किताबों से रिश्ता जोड़कर लेखकों की हौसला अफजाई के साथ साथ आने वाली पीढ़ी को किताबों की अहमियत से रोशनास कराया जाए। अब वो घड़ी आ चुकी है जिसका हम सबको शिद्दत से इंतजार है। बुक रिलीज History of Kashmir and its Pandits. Editor Dr. Ashok Raina, साबिका साइंटिस्ट, US डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर। इस किताब की रस्म रुनमाई के सिलसिले में डॉक्टर KN पंडिता किताबें मंगाई जाए। श्री विजय बकाया साहब, प्रोफेसर B L Zutshi, डॉक्टर अशोक रैना, भरत सिंह मनहास साहब, प्रोफेसर अशोक एमा स्पेशल गेस्ट हैं, प्रोफेसर B L कौल स्पेशल गेस्ट हैं, प्रोफेसर संदीप पंडिता जी स्पेशल गेस्ट हैं, कर्नल अजय रैना साहब अगर वो मौजूद हैं, श्री B L सराफ, श्री शिवन खैबरी साहब और प्रोफेसर बिलिंदर रावत मंच पे तशरीफ लाइए। तीनों शख्सियात कश्मीरी पंडित समाज में एक आला मुकाम हासिल कर अपने अपने फील्ड में वाहवाही लूटने में कामयाब रह चुके हैं। इनका रुतबा जनाब साहब शिवन खैबरी, एमिनेंट क्रिटिक, और प्रोफेसर विलिंदर रावल, सोशल एक्टिविस्ट और मीडिया कर्मी। सबसे पहले मैं दावत देना चाहूँगा जस्टिस BL सराफ साहब से। वो मंच पे तशरीफ लाएंगे और पेपर रीडिंग। जी।
Well, dignitaries on the dais and dignitaries of the dais. It's really a matter of privilege for me to have been given this present duty to read, to have some views on the book and then express them before this audience. Well, mine will not be a typical critical appreciation or what you call review of the book, because there are certain fundamental parameters which are required for that, and I don't find myself competent to, in that way, to be a reviewer. But anyway, these are my impressions of the book, which may border on review at some stage. Well, review is an honest reaction to a book or a work of art, which includes an analysis of thesis, the themes, and plots of a particular text. In a review, one can offer one's agreement on some of the issues raised in the text and even identify those points, please mark these words, and identify those points of where the work is found exemplary or deficient in terms of knowledge, judgment or not. When I say that offer an agreement, I have a right to offer my disagreement also, though it should emanate from the book. Its genesis should be in the book. That is precisely what the role of a reviewer should be. Well, this book is an assorted collection of 10 essays, which you will come to know soon. Arranged in 10 chapters written in an order given in the book. Dr. Sandeep Pinta and Dr. Ashok Raina, titled Kashmir Valley, Evolution and Prehistory, is chapter 1. Professor Tejnath Dar, titled Ancient Kashmir and Hindu Rulers, chapters 2 and 3. Dr. Kashi Nath Pandita, titled Muslim Rule and Kashmir 47, Incursion of Tribal Lashkars, is the chapter 4 and 6. J&K Durga Rule, chapter 5. Dr. Banslal Kaul, Post-Independence Kashmir, chapter 7. Dr. Satish Ganju, Ashwini Chungu, and Ashok Raina, titled Genocide of Kashmir and Hindus of Kashmir, chapter 8. Banslal Pandita, titled Pandits and Their Unique Culture, chapter 9. And Dr. Vijay Bakaya, Will Pandits Survive Without Their Kashmir, chapter 10. Professor Subhash Kaak has written a foreword, so I must attend on that also. Now, it's an indeed tough job for anyone who dares to say something on subject history. For history is a dynamic and evolving subject. The tragedy, however, is that the study of history and historical facts couldn't come out of the cliche, my history and your history. We have histories that cut across. Global politics of the day has made it more complicated. So much so that the cliche that metamorphoses into my truth versus your truth, resulting in suppression of the real truth. A new idiom, post-truth, has been added to the vocabulary, which in fact is nothing but parading a falsehood. The resourceful walk away with the
Dr. Pandita Sahab, Bakaya Sahab, Dr. Ashok Raina ji, Manhas Sahab, Zutshi Sahab, and such a wonderful learned gathering here. To stand in front of you really needs courage, and I have mustered one today. I have read this book. This makes interesting reading, and I suggest and recommend that each one of Kashmiri Pandit must read this book. There are certain chapters which we must go through and even pass on to our younger generations. and its Pandits. In fact, the writer has been quite sublime in claiming to be the editor of the book and not its author in absolute sense, and that too conscientiously, as it is a collection of well-known writers having the requisite progress in respective fields, including the technical aspect of geological events that scientists believe led Satisar progressively getting reclaimed into habitable fertile land. However, not giving, it is said, it is believed, so not giving credence to such terms, but having regard for the tradition and the name as Kashapmur and later Kashmir, it was the great sage and an ascetic named Kashapa who was divinely instrumental in draining of the water of Satisar. That's what I believe. Has been described as, quote, some of the facts were woven into the legendary tale which was believed by the majority of local inhabitants, unquote. Thus, an air of uncertainty and ambiguity remains to the extent of interpreting geological records into legends and traditions, which, however, became unavoidable to be incorporated by historians of all hues. A well-known scholar, scientist Dr. Ashok Raina, has successfully attempted to describe Kashmir in totality.
So with humble permission from the dignitary sitting on the chair, I would like to start sharing the contents of my today's paper, sir. History of Kashmir and its Pandits is timely composed of 10 articles, composed and edited by Dr. Ashok Raina, sir. Though there is enough historical record of Kashmir history, written by great giants, local, national, international personalities, but 33 years of exile of Kashmiri Pandits down the line, the efforts of the editor are laudable and attract huge accolades, as the book is a short summary of historical anecdotes and will prove a ready reckoner for the coming progeny. This is my point. Commenting on the first article, Pandits and their unique culture, written by Sri Bansi L. Pandit. About the rituals, sanskaras, traditions, etc., it hurts when we see the erosion of cultural values of community members after the mass exodus. The writer tries to regenerate the lost values of morals. Author has perfectly elaborated various rituals and culture of Pandits, may that be religious practices, puja rituals, or sacrificial food. Sanskaras like Zarkasai, Mekhal, जिसको Meghnopavit बोलते हैं, and so on and so forth. He has wonderfully discussed about scripts like Sharda script, Devanagari script, and Persian Arabic script. Now, as far as the dance, drama, and music is concerned, the author has rightly referred to Bharat Muni. आपको सबको पता है Bharat Muni ही the person who has brought this Natya Shastra in Kashmir. The author says that Bhana means one act play. One act play means Pandapatra. Or in Sanskrit, he said, is known as Bhanapatra. In Sanskrit, Bhanapatra is read as Bhanapatra. Though with the moving cloth, this art received hiccups and was, I am using the word was, at the verge of extinction. Was at the verge of extinction, yet I am of the opinion that the author should have mentioned about the slow process of its revival by our community icons like Padmashree Motilal Kemu and Pandit Mahalal Sara. और उसमें खास उसमें जो चीज़ दी है वो है गजेंद्र गढ़कर का विषय. That is गजेंद्र गढ़कर जब हम पढ़ते हैं तो उसमें पता चलता है कि भाई how brave we were. उस टर्माइल में भी कश्मीरी पंडित कितना ब्रेव था. कश्मीरी पंडित तब भी ये उन्होंने कमेटी बनाई, कमीशन बिठाया कि चलिए जी देखते हैं कश्मीरी पंडितों पर क्या क्या एट्रोसिटीज हो रही है इस तूफान में. That should be that. So it needs to be said. That's a wonderful thing. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for listening to me. So nice of you.
शुक्रिया राहुल साहब. हमारे बीच बैठे हैं M.K. योगी साहब, सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी के साबिका वाइस चांसलर प्रोफेसर अशोक रैना साहब से गुजारिश है वो अपने ख्यालात का इजहार करें, मगर वक्त का ज़रा ख्याल रखें।
Namaskar, Mahasaya. It's gratifying to note that an increasing quest for re-establishing our roots and bring forth our authentic historical narratives of Kashmir Valley has been attempted in this book. And Kashmir diaspora has been making commendable efforts to consolidate and come up with discourses and commentaries about an ancient ethnic, cultural, philosophical, and even spiritual roots of Kashmir, which is quite commendable. Suffering the seventh exodus and getting scattered world over, it's very important to fill up the gaps that our future generation in particular and public in general gets an unbiased and authentic perspective about the valley from ancient times. These gaps started occurring after 14th century. Till then, Kashmir Valley represented one of the most creative places. Art. I tell you that I have visited about 150 institutions across the country as the chairman for accreditation purpose of university, management institutions, engineering colleges, as chairman of National Board of Accreditation, AICT and NAC, UGC. Do you know what will be the inaugural ceremony would start with? Namaste Sharda Devi Kashmir Purvasini. Tamam Prathu Mite Vidya Dhyancha Dehini. 90% of the institutions would start with this prayer. That was establish the primacy of Kashmir's seat of learning. In fact, if you look to the Indian civilization and cultural ethos, the imprint of Kashmir Shaivism, Krita philosophy is very obvious. And I don't think Indian cultural and philosophical ethos can be seen sans the contribution of the Kashmir contribution to that. The Kashmir history has been talked about. I think these are the efforts which require. And I must also compliment Dr. Raina for his commendable efforts to have at least taken up a task to consolidate so many people put together. Two Kashmiri Pandits would have 5 opinions and 5 conflicts coming across. But having getting so many people put together and contribute to this is a commendable job, and I must compliment you for that. And this also augurs well, because I think that's the starting point where individual brilliance, individual effluence, individual glory must now start converging into an institutional creation of such assets like Sharda Peeth, Sharda University.
डॉक्टर BL कौल से मैं गुजारिश करूंगा कि वो मंच पे तशरीफ लाएं.
As he said, we were classmates in SP College, and since then we have remained friends, and we have seen ups and downs in our lives. And I have a lot to say about his ups and downs and how he has risen to the position that he is now at. What brought us together initially in SP College was that both of us were rejected for admission to the medical college. Despite our merit, and those lower than us, they were admitted. So we put our energies, okay, we are not going to become doctors, let's do something else. So we put our energies in learning natural history. Now, natural history, normally you call it as zoology and botany. This is a study of fauna and flora. And we're lucky to have great teachers like Dr. B L Zutshi. He was the first PhD in zoology from Jammu and Kashmir. Then natural history. This has personally helped me to gain a lot, and now you'll be happy to know that it has helped me to become a fellow of the Linnean Society of London, which is the first society of natural history in the world. And similarly, my friend has become the topmost scientist in entomology in the United States of America and become an international figure. Maybe it was his destiny to go into the field of entomology. Now, what is entomology? Entomology is the science of insects. All of us come into contact with insects every day. My madam sitting there, she is very much, you see, scared of insects in the vegetables, and she has to put a lot of time, especially in cauliflower. In fact, insect. And your clothes marks, your color challenge. That's an insect. So he went into that science. Okay. They also do a lot of harm to the agriculture. You see, he got married with Santoshi sitting here when he was still a...
बड़ी अच्छी लगी मुझे कि इन्होंने इसको सबसे पहले कंडीशन लगा दी कि अनबायास होना चाहिए। इस लिहाज से भी कि अगर हम आपकी इस कम्युनिटी की बात करें तो इस कम्युनिटी ने ज़्यादा मुश्किलात झेली हैं, ज़्यादा फरमाइश देखी हैं हिस्टोरिकली भी, और आपको ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है कि आप अपने कल्चर को किस तरीके से बचा के रखेंगे, किस तरीके से उसको प्रमोट करेंगे, किस तरीके से उसको डेवलप करेंगे जो उनके काम आ सकती है, जिससे वो अपने कल्चर, अपने हेरिटेज, कल्चरल हेरिटेज, अपने जो आपकी कम्युनिटी के साथ जुड़ी हैं उनके बारे में जान सकते हैं। मैं इस मौके पे ये कहना चाहूँगा कि अगर हम देखें हर कम्युनिटी को, हर कल्चर को हिस्टोरिकली, फ्यूचर में भी हम प्रोग्राम करेंगे कि आप अपने कल्चर को डेवलप करने के लिए, इसको प्रमोट करने के लिए काम करें। हमारा काम सिर्फ प्लेटफॉर्म प्रोवाइड करना है, उससे ज़्यादा हम खुद कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे। ये जो आपका इंटेलेक्चुअल माइंड है, आप हिस्टोरिकली अगर आप अपनी हिस्ट्री को देखिए कि एजुकेशनली तो आप शुरू से बहुत आगे थे, और आपकी उस इंटेलेक्चुअल जो आपकी प्रॉपर्टी थे उसका फायदा उठाया लोगों ने, तो वो प्रॉपर्टी आपके पास है, लेकिन जो कल्चरल आइडेंटिटी है, जो दर्द आपके अंदर है इस वक्त भी अपने कल्चर के लिए, उसमें काम करना है, और वो आपके बिना दूसरा कोई नहीं कर सकता। हम सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं, लेकिन वो मैदान जो है वो आपको खुद पकड़ना है, उस मैदान में काम आपको खुद करना है। किताब लिखना एक बहुत बड़ी चीज़ होती है, और जो चीज़ इस किताब में आ जाती है वो एक रिकॉर्ड बन जाता है। जो आप देखिए इस किताब की इंपॉर्टेंस बहुत ज़्यादा है, क्योंकि इसमें इन्होंने कोशिश की है कि जो राइट पर्सपेक्टिव हैं हिस्टोरिक, स्पेशली कश्मीर पंडित कम्युनिटी के बारे में, तो उन पर तबसरा है, और जो फ्यूचर जनरेशन है उसको ये काफ़ी मदद कर सकती है किताब। लेकिन मेरा इस मंच से ये आप लोगों से रिक्वेस्ट है कि आप जितना ज़्यादा काम करेंगे, जितनी ज़्यादा लिखेंगे किताबें या कोई और एक्टिविटी आप करेंगे, तो कल्चरल एकेडमी आपके साथ खड़ी, हमारा पूरा सहयोग रहेगा आपके साथ, लेकिन काम जो है वो आप करना है। मैं इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ अपनी बात खत्म करता हूँ। थैंक यू।
Esteemed members sitting on the dais, and ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to extend any further your span of attention, and I'll only briefly comment on this unique anthology that has been presented before us through the hard work done by Dr. Ashok Raina, who has been introduced at length to us by Dr. Kaul. And we are very proud of the fact that Ashok Raina ji, although he has shifted abroad, has his roots still intact in Kashmir, and he heart beats for Kashmir. This anthology of articles written by some eminent authors, he has compiled with a lot of wisdom and a lot of great effort, and it has become a compendium of the history, the ponderous history that we have been reading about Kashmir from various sources, from various books. This will help the future generations who are talking from every platform about roots, about unity, without knowing anything at all how the Kashmiri Pandit community has survived over the ages. This may help them to understand the fact that, like the proverbial phoenix, the Kashmiri Pandit has all along risen the 14th century AD. They have been tortured, oppressed, but they've always shown a lot of resilience and have always moved forward. And the latest example is what we have done after 1990. For 33 years, we have risen out of adversity on our own feet, from the one-room tenement, from the tent, the one-room tenement, to the two-room tenement, to our own houses by selling our properties in Kashmir. We have, and sending our children abroad to study individualistic community, and I suppose historically this has been a very wise decision of the community not to unite. And what will so many universities unite about? My professor used to say that every Kashmiri Pandit is one university. So this empty slogan of unity of the Kashmiri Pandits, I think we should shun. Because over the years, over the centuries, we have tried to unite, we have not united, but we have survived only because we decided to survive as individuals. And every individual in his sphere of activity has achieved something or other as a professional, as an academician, as a social activist. And we should not, I think, fall into the morbid habit of beating our chests all the time. A very old time. That means we are not such an ancient mythical race about whose origin we don't know. We are told the Satis had dried up 85,000 years ago, and the first human being who stepped on this earth was on this land was about 11,000 years ago. That gives us some kind of an assurance that we are absolutely not out of this world, but belong to this world and have progressed like other races. And I have always wondered, when did this Kashmiri Pandits, of course they have said, who gave them this name of Kashmiri Pandit? But I have always wondered, what language did the Kashmiri Pandit speak? What language at the time of Laleshwari, who wrote in Kashmiri, which was archaic Kashmiri, what language did all of us speak, and how did this Kashmiri language evolve? There are people living in...
आपसे गुजारिश है कि आप अपने ख्यालात का इजहार करेंगी डॉक्टर के पंडिता साहब.
And dear friends, I join my predecessors in expressing our gratitude to Dr. Ashok Raina, who conceptualized the idea of writing a book, history, but with a different tone and tenor. More than a year ago, he contacted me. We didn't know each other. He contacted me and asked me what was my opinion on the plan which he had of writing a book like this. I welcomed it because I have always been thinking that there's much distortion in our history which needs to be corrected. And there are eminent people. So we continued exchanging ideas, thoughts, and in that process, the names were approved and the topics were approved, and finally, in a very short time, the book has been published. In the initial stage, Dr. Raina introduced himself to me incognito as a scientist, which he is in his right, but as one who knows nothing of Kashmir history. And that was not true. because when he began commenting on my man with a vision, with an insight, only such a man can ask these questions. But I appreciate his humility of saying that he is not a historian. So all thanks to him. He has traveled all the way from United States to our country, and we are happy to see him here amidst us, personally see him and thank him. I am sure he will carry our message of goodwill to his compatriots back in the United States. I have nothing to say about the book because for two reasons. One, enough has been said. And secondly, I myself, one of the contributors, so my word will not carry weight. That will be self-praise or self-demonstration, whatever you mean. Anyway, but what contribution this particular volume makes to our history is that it opens a window through which we will try to find the truth about our history, because it's written by very eminent people, without prejudice and without any wish to become famous. No, they are academicians to the core. Maybe this book will become the source material, reference book for future writers. Many questions have been raised by writers, including myself, for my expertise in medieval Kashmir, which is somewhat rare because of the ability of mastering Persian language, in which most of the histories of medieval period have been written. So, I am one who has been raising, my friend Shan Saab knows, Ram Saab, everybody knows, I have been raising some questions, pertinent questions, about what is written. एक बात मैं आपसे कहना चाहता हूँ, the historical issue. जब एक कोई भी कौम अपने धर्म को छोड़कर कन्वर्ट हो जाती है, वो कन्वर्शन के बाद बहुत ज़्यादा फैनेटिक बनती है, एक एस्टैब्लिश्ड रूल है। इसकी वजह क्या है, ये तो साइकोलॉजिस्ट बताएंगे, लेकिन जहाँ तक मेरी रिसर्च और तहकीक की बात है, इन लोगों को कन्वर्ट होने के बाद दिल में एक खटका रहता है कि मैं अपने आप को जो ओरिजिनल जो कन्वर्ट हो गए हैं उनसे बेहतर और बढ़कर पेश कर। They want to prove themselves more loyal than the king. ईरान और इसराइल का झगड़ा जो है, that's an example, it's a classical example. Their geography, their geographical borders do not meet. They are at a distance of more than 1,000 miles. Their language do not meet, their religion do not meet, nothing meets. But why then does Iran say that we will decimate? He says that this is written in Quran. The Quran gives we don't have time enough. अभी बिजली भी जाने वाली है तो फिर बात भी नहीं होती। सिर्फ एक बात चलते चलाते कहूँ, my friend Bakaya Sahab has very briefly, succinctly said something about return of the Pandits in a scientific manner, in a practical manner. Every sensible man will think in a practical manner. I think in my own way. Security is not our problem, mind it. These are the pretexts which the governments make, especially the central government makes. कि बहुत कुछ हो रहा है, ये रिसेटलमेंट कहाँ हो, क्लस्टर्स में हो, टाउनशिप बने, अपनी अपनी जगह पर जाएं, बहुत से फार्मूलाज पेश किए जा रहे हैं। ये सब फार्मूलाज जो हैं ये गलत फार्मूलाज, इस पर नहीं जाए और नहीं ना इस पर हम उसको हम एक्सेप्ट करेंगे। सिंपल बात का मौका नहीं है। मैं कंक्लूड करूंगा, एक पोर्शन वर्स पढ़ूंगा और उसका माने बताऊंगा, और वो इसलिए कहूंगा कि ये किताब जो है जो आपके सामने आई है वो कहाँ है, हमारे एंकर कहाँ है, जरा सामने है। अगर आपको जो कुछ इस किताब में लिखा है A to Z, ये आदमी है जो आपके सामने रिप्रेजेंट करता है प्रैक्टिकल। इसकी कहानी आप सुनेंगे तो आपको किताब पढ़ने की कोई जरूरत नहीं। मराठा साहब, थैंक यू। तो मैं वर्ष सेंड करना चाहता हूँ। आशना हर खारा az kıssayı masaft dar bayabane जुनून बुर्दी व रुस्वा साफ्त। हर एक कांटे को हमारे खून के पाँव के खून के कतरों से आशना किया और जुनून के बया व सहला में ले गए और हमको रुस्वा किया। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
शुक्रिया पंडिता साहब। सवाल जवाब का सिलसिला शुरू करना है कि नहीं? वोट ऑफ थैंक्स के लिए वीरेंद्र रैना साहब आप तशरीफ लाइए।
Namaskar and good evening. When a few days back Zutshi sir rang me and asked me that I have to propose a vote of thanks today, it's a matter of great privilege. I really feel personal privilege in thanking such a galaxy of audience that is present today. Firstly, I must start with our Sheh Gawara, Padmashree Dr. K. Pandita. My association with him is since Kashmir University, and post-Exodus, we have grown, seeing his genius grow every day. To have been blessed with such a genius, Kashi Nath Pandita ji, thank you very much for coming today. We are equally thankful to ex-Chief Secretary, Legislator, Vijay Bakaya Sahab. Vijay Bakaya Sahab has been instrumental in ameliorating the sufferings of Kashmiri diaspora post-Exodus, as a civil servant, as Divisional Commissioner, as DC in Kashmir also, and as Legislator and as Chief Secretary. An absolute genius. Sir, please, Ashok Raina ji, Dr. Ashok Raina ji, whom I have met for the first time today, and I didn't get the book, otherwise I could have, said a few words over the book also, but I just hope that हम पुनः स्थापित होंगे कश्मीर में, शारदा के तटों पे हमारी सभ्यता पुनः वहाँ पे बसेगी और उसी तरह से हम वहाँ जाएंगे, लेकिन जैसा कि हमारे के पंडिता साहब ने कहा कि अपनी राजनीतिक और कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल गारंटीज के साथ जाएंगे, where we can hold our head high. It's not the security that we want. We want sense of security, and sense of security is not there in Kashmir as yet. हम वहाँ जाएंगे, स्थापित होंगे और फिर से शारदा सिविलाइजेशन को फिर से स्थापित करेंगे। Thank you very much and God bless you. Please keep seated. Tea will be served at 2 places. Some can please move to the room adjacent here, and rest keep sitting here. Tea will be served right here.